I went homeless to Homesteader in 7 years. I still couldn't find an apartment that I could afford. It was crazy. Wow. So I lived in my car in a Walmart parking lot for about 6 months. And then I started my YouTube channel and I was there for about 8 months and the landlord sold the building. New owner wanted to live in my unit and I'm just like, I can't do this anymore. A totally trashed out mobile home that the realtor said was unfixable, unlivable, can't do it, not possible, it's trash, get rid of it. And this was 50 grand and I belly flopped on it. That is just constant survival mode and that's terrible. You don't want to live there. You don't want to live on just that edge.
If you were to give like one piece of advice to someone who maybe had kind of the same turbulent changes that you have had. So you are Dani, and this is Wicked Awesome Gardening.
Yes.
You have a really cool backstory and a really cool just story in general. But before we get into that, the babies are yelling.
Yes.
We've got some milk, so let's go feed the babies and we'll talk a little bit about what you've got going on here, huh?
Yes.
Okay. What is your setup here? How many acres do you have?
I have just barely 2, and this is just the kind of start. This was all brush, all of this here, and I got my goats in August and they took care of that.
Is this one
there we
supposed
go.
to get out?
Yes, they can all come out.
They can come out, okay.
They can all come out. We can go take a seat over here because this is where we like to feed the babies.
Oh, they know, look.
This is Mirabelle and Cleo.
Hi, guys.
And their mama Stella had an injury right on the cusp of going into labor. She spooked, cut herself here, severed the artery in her leg. The vets were a miracle 15 minutes away. On their way to a goat call, so they had goat supplies. So they came over and we did field surgery right there. They saved her and they said the babies were gone, that they were not here anymore. Then when Stella woke up, the babies started kicking like alien. You want this bottle, huh? And after 3 days of very slow labor, she delivered them in a 5-minute rush. And they are healthy and spunky.
Wow.
Do you want to feed one?
Yeah, I'll take one.
Okay.
Who am I getting? You,
that is
apparently.
Mirabelle.
She's like, you get me.
So they had a kind of miracle birth. She took care of them, gave them all that good colostrum, but 2 weeks, the infection just was eating into her chest. Well, like it was bad. So we had to let her go. But so Mirabelle and Cleo, because their names together, the beginnings spell miracle. Oh. Oh goodness. She's like, I don't care. Just give me more. Sorry.
I love the names though.
Yes.
So you don't have just goats here. Tell me a little bit about what you're doing here.
So far I just have goats and chickens. The plan is eventually there will be pigs. There will be sheep at some point. Just a couple, but because I would like lamb. Definitely don't have like the grass or anything to do cattle, but
yeah,
my Facebook followers, they're like, get a mini Highland. And I'm like, I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
I'm not doing it. I don't have enough grass. Yeah, I have dairy goats. These are registered Nigerian dwarfs. So, and I do show, well, I've done one show. We will do more. I've got my gorgeous bucks over here.
Oh, in the pen.
There we go. You guys chugged that. I'm sorry that I splashed you. Yeah, my gorgeous bucks over there. So I did initially just get dairy goats because I wanted a couple of backyard milkers because I wanted to make cheese. Making cheese requires milk, milk requires breeding, and I figured if I'm going to breed, I need to make sure that I'm breeding the best possible animals. I need to make sure that they're, going to be breeding healthy animals.
Yeah.
And I figured that showing is the best way to do that, where I'm a city girl and I've never really done a lot of animal husbandry. That's how I got into showing them, and I figured that's the best way to make sure that I'm gonna have some healthy goats. Not only that, oh, she nibbles. Not only that, registered animals cost the same to feed as non-registered animals. They sell better, they sell faster, they sell higher. You gotta have a plan to offload those kids. I am not opposed to eating what I can't sell though, because goat is delicious.
Yeah.
Sorry, you're tasty. You are tasty. This one here, she is her mama in miniature. Her mama gave me 2 does, 2 little doelings, and one of them is just like her, so it's yay. Oh, all right, let me call them back in.
Oh, look, they're over there eating some brush.
Oh, yeah.
your name is Wicked Awesome Gardening.
Yes.
Are you growing vegetables as well? Where did that name come from?
Yeah, so I started in an apartment in 2020. My landlord said, yeah, you can grow a garden here, go as crazy as you want. And I went, you may regret that. So I took his entire side yard and built a 25 by 35 garden. So I had raised beds. I had 40 feet of arched not 40 feet, well, 40 feet because both sides.
Right.
20 feet, 20 feet. 20-foot cattle panel trellis tunnel with like beans and squash and all this good stuff. And it was awesome. And that's where I started my channel. I got into YouTube. I never thought I would do YouTube. I had never edited a video ever. I remember when I got my apartment before that, I was like, oh, hey, I can grow a tomato on this porch. I bet I can do that. So I started looking at videos and I found Am I Gardener. So that turned into a whole thing where I was just spending time on my porch, just listening to Am I Gardener videos and planting. Pretty soon I had beans, peppers, tomatoes, basil, lettuce, Swiss chard, spinach, peas, carrots, strawberries, blueberries, and like 6 or 7 other things all on my little porch. It was pretty crazy. That led me to, I'm like, well, can I grow melons? Can I grow melons in a container? And that led me to a video from Jessica Sowards. And then that just, because as a kid, my parents had a big garden. We lived in a little postage stamp in the city, like a 1/10 of an acre. Half of the yard was a garden, and they used to make me and my brother just garden with them, and I hated it. And then I realized how well it served me as an adult. My dad has taught me a lot of things. The buck pen here, these pallet fences, like I built all that by myself.
Yeah.
It's not finished. That is not finished yet, but because my dad taught me how to use things. But I realized once I got here and I'm like, okay, I've got power tools, I've got supplies. Wait a minute, we built all these things together and he never let me use the saws. So I had to teach myself. But that's kind of my background. I watched a lot of Little House on the Prairie. We camped a lot.
Yeah.
So I learned, some basic skills, and I didn't think people still lived like this. And then I saw Jessica Sowards and her little homestead, and I'm like, people still do this. I can do that. I can do this. I never thought I'd be able to own a house. I thought I was going to be doing my YouTube channel from a backyard garden for forever. Then I found this place here. This is 2 acres. A totally trashed out mobile home that the realtor said was unfixable, unlivable, can't do it, not possible, it's trash, get rid of it. And this was 50 grand. And I belly flopped on it. My brother helped me buy it, so I'm paying my mortgage to my brother. Within a few years, I'll own it outright. That is totally fixable. I walked in and I went, the floor's fine. And I just did like a couple like stomp, kangaroo jumps. And I'm like, I didn't go through the floor. It's got a brand new metal roof. It doesn't seem to be moldy. I can fix this. And so I've learned how to put down floors. I kicked down a couple of walls and put them up, and just a lot of scrubbing, a lot of cleaning, and there's still a lot to do, like replacing some windows, and I still don't have plumbing in the kitchen so we're washing our dishes in like a big thing in the bathtub. Yeah. But it's little things that I can sacrifice on because I used to work in real estate, so I know that once that's, fixed up nicer and built everything out, this is a $250,000 property. So it's a nice investment, but also it's really the big thing is letting me live my dream. Going back to the vegetables though, I'll show you up here.
Yeah.
I haven't had time, the extra funds to build out the garden yet, but this actual whole area, even where the buck pen is here, this will all be garden over the next couple of years. Right now I've just got my one raised bed that is totally over. There are 8 tomato plants in there. There's an eggplant. There's a couple peppers. It's really crowded. I did it on purpose. It's okay. Yeah, so this will all be garden, and then I want to kind of level this out here and build an actual barn. Where the goats are gonna go is gonna be back here, and if you're ready for a bushwhack, So the goats are gonna clear all of this out. This is all sumac, and that is like goat candy. But this part, this is what I call the top of the property. This field here up until that little tree. Okay. All of this is mine here. We're gonna pen the goats up here and let them clear this, and then this will be my orchard. So we're gonna have a few fruit trees, berry bushes, all of that. Big old garden down there, all the fruit and berries here. So how I got here is that I got divorced in 2010, and I didn't really have a lot of job skills. I just worked in daycare or retail like my whole life. So my earnings potential was not great. There I am, I'm a single mom. I've got 2 young daughters. We kind of bounced around for several years to apartments, and back to my parents' house, and up, and we're doing well again. We're in an apartment and back and forth. And then in 2015, 2016, I was in an apartment, nice apartment that I could afford, and there was a squabble between the neighbor tenant and the landlord, and then they went to the town and said, oh, there's this wrong with the property, this wrong with the property, this. The town came in and shut us down. She said, you have to get everybody out of here. This is not permitted. You're not multifamily. Why do you have 2 units up here? And so we had to get out. And so there I was left, boom. I had 3 jobs. I had like $5,000 in the bank, and I still couldn't find an apartment that I could afford. It was crazy. Wow. So I lived in my car in a Walmart parking lot for about 6 months. Yeah.
Wow.
I would spend my days with my kids, and I would drop them off to their father so that they could sleep in beds, because you don't, if you have any option, you don't bring your kids to sleep in your car. That's what we did for about 6 months until my friends found out that I was living in my car. I could have gone back to my parents' house, except that they had rented out the other rooms. There was literally no room at the inn. It was just, I didn't even tell them. They didn't know, because they would have been like, come sleep on the floor. And it's just, my pride was like a little too much at that point. And I'm like, no, I'm not doing this again.
Yeah.
And it took a couple of years to get back on my feet. Then I had this great new apartment. I had my garden on my porch, and the landlord sold the building, and the new owner wanted to live in my unit. And so I'm like, oh, great. But I found a great apartment right after that where I could build an even bigger garden. And I started my YouTube channel, and I was there for about 8 months, and the landlord sold the building. New owner wanted to live in my unit. And I'm just like, I can't do this anymore. I can't keep having other people just uproot my life over and over and over again. So at 40 years old, I moved back in with my parents because there was room. And I stayed there for a while, and I was saving up money and cleaning things up and just kind of getting myself together. And then I found this. My brother is amazing, and he's like, okay, we're gonna do this. So he helped me purchase the property. So here we are, working on getting him paid back, which is a big thing, but 50 grand, you can pay that off in a handful of years if you really, really work at it. So we're getting there. But yeah, awesome. I went homeless to homesteader in 7 years.
Wow.
So, and it just took a lot of not stopping. So you just got to keep going. Just an example, the other day I was getting ready to paint a cabinet, like just with a sample, and I, shook up the sample, and then I got distracted, and I'm like, oh, I got to shake this thing up again. I had loosened the lid, and I splashed paint all over myself, like all over. It was here and everything, and my friend was there, and she had to snap a picture, but I posted on my Facebook, and my followers, like, dude, if that happened to me and there was paint all over my floor and all over me, I would be yelling and swearing, and you're just laughing, and I love that. And it's just, it didn't hurt anything. I'm going to replace that. I'm going to put in flooring anyway. Right. It's like, why get upset when it's a momentary inconvenience? You can just wipe up and move on. All right, so this is the path down. It's what we call the back half of the property. Not that it's a very big property, but I still can divide it into sections.
Well, and you say 2 acres. I mean, you can do a lot with 2 acres. We've been to farms that have a couple hundred acres, and they're only using 2 acres.
Yes.
I think people get caught up on acreage sometimes.
So this whole section here is all going to be cleared by the goats.
Okay.
And it goes all the way over to that big tree.
Wow.
So all of this will be the future goat pasture back here.
Oh, and they're going to love all of this.
Oh yeah, they are going to clear this out.
So what's your timeline that you're looking to get the goats out here?
I'd love to have them down here now. The thing is, fencing is expensive. But yeah, this is where they're going to be. And that's why the garden isn't quite as big as it could be at the moment for space. You can see how like the house is all the way up there.
Oh yeah, and all of this.
So much room for goats. So we've been breaking the trail over the last couple of weeks because this used to be mowed. What this was is an elderly couple lived here forever. It was actually in the same family basically since the area had been settled, and they subdivided into the 90s. So they have family living in that house, family living in that house.
Okay.
The son of the people that used to live here. They're super nice.
Yeah.
And then this is like my private oasis.
Oh, this is nice.
This is what
Are you able to like capitalize on some of this water here, and once you get the goats out, you can like use the water for them?
Yes. So I can pump a limited amount. We have a good well. I have a 265 foot drilled well, which is nice. But we come back here, finally get to swim a little bit.
Yeah.
But if I need to, I can pump some water up for my garden. I just need to get like one of those little pumps and run it up the hill.
Right.
Because it curves around to the edge, like right behind the goat barn over there.
Yeah.
So
it really is just like the back part of your property. I mean,
yes, it's shaped kind of like a grand piano.
Oh,
like straight across the front, and then whoop, but I can pump this to water the garden, to water the goats. It's a really, really clean, beautiful river. It's a little complicated with getting animals too close to it. As long as when I get the pigs, I keep them like up there. It should be fine.
Yeah. So you went from homeless to here, but you had a garden before that.
Yeah. So that last apartment that I had, where I started my YouTube channel, and I had my big by some people's standards garden. I had like 4 by 10 beds, a 4 by 12 bed, some berry bushes and flower garden, and the cattle panel trellises and all of that. And I grew almost all the food, and I started that in spring, grew the food, and already just that season, I grew almost all of my produce. And then I had to take it all the way back down to the ground in the fall.
Yeah, so how did you kind of manage the fact that you did have that big garden twice, right? Like it was at 2 different apartments.
Yep.
And now you're here and the landscape isn't really approved for a garden. So is that why you got the livestock, like the goats first, because you're trying to make way for the garden? Or
it's well, it's not so much the land, it isn't approved for it. It's just that I haven't really had the time to build it out between, right now I'm working a ton to, pay off a bunch of the bills.
Yeah.
So bringing in soil, because all of my soil is like this.
Yeah, I saw that up there.
This is called Marlow soil. It is river rock and sand. So I have to bring in sand. So I have to bring in soil to be able to grow my garden. So I've got 2 yards of compost up there. I filled 1 bed, and I have another bed that I'm going to fill, and I'm going to grow some late season zucchini and cucumber out of it because the pressure of the squash bugs is past. One benefit of the goats is they don't need to have their manure composted to go straight into the garden. With all their bedding and everything else, I'm building that up into a big old compost heap.
Yeah.
And then next spring, I can fill most of my beds with that top dress with the compost, and boom, I'm gonna have a fantastic garden.
How long have you been here then?
Not quite 1 year. I purchased it. We actually signed the deal in January 2023. And then we were working on it because it did not have plumbing. We didn't know if the septic system worked. We didn't know if the well worked. I took a flyer on this. I'm a real estate agent and I know better. Do as I say, not as I do, folks. Do as I say, not as I do. Get your home inspection. Make sure you have a working septic, but the septic worked. We just needed a new well tank and the well works just fine. So yeah, from there it was fixing up the property, scrubbing it, cleaning it. And so I've been here since August of last year.
Wow.
So we have functional plumbing in the bathroom, like we can shower, we can, do our stuff. And, we're working on getting the plumbing run to the kitchen. But when the elderly couple that lived here died, their grandkids moved in and they made a mess of the place. And when they left their 2 cats in it.
Oh my.
And they stayed. They stayed in and under the house, but in the absence of a litter box, they used all the kitchen cabinets.
Oh my.
So I've cleaned them, but we haven't ripped them out yet. I don't want to use them for anything. So 1 cabinet at a time, I'm replacing the kitchen. So the next thing we're getting is a new piece of countertop and the sink-based cabinet. And then I can run PEX in and hook up my sink.
Okay.
But that's still probably a month or so away with the other bills.
Let's walk this way
Sure.
a little bit. So tell me a little bit then, I mean, I know right now you're working more on the house and getting your bills and stuff in order, like you said, but how has the experience been with just trying to grow your own food and be, I don't know if sustainable is the word, but just, growing your own food, being in farming, especially you said you didn't come from a farming background.
Right.
So how has all of that been through all of your transitions?
Well, we definitely just learned the lesson of where you have livestock, you have dead stock with Stella, and that was a hard lesson. I thought I had really prepared for it, but I didn't realize how much I was going to love my goats.
Yeah.
And she was my favorite. So it was like losing a dog. I walked into it with the expectation that that's the reality. I have grown a lot of my own produce before, so I'm confident that that's something that I can do again very soon. Having eggs has been great. I've raised a couple of meat birds. I don't want to do all Cornish cross. I want to get into that more sustainability and have maybe not the big, huge Cornish cross.
Yeah.
but you know, just a average small broiler. So I've got a really beefy rooster, and I've focused on my layers being, you know, more of those dual purpose breeds. But yeah, I mean, the focus, I think, for me is less on self-sufficiency, although that's where this started, because I was like, I don't care if I buy a shack, as long as there's electricity, the roof doesn't leak, you know, I can, you know, shower and all that stuff. I don't care if I'm in a shack. I need to be in a place where somebody can't just decide, oh, you don't live here anymore, for whatever reason. Like, you know, when I'm paying my rent on time and I'm being a good tenant and I'm taking care of the property and they're like, oh yeah, you're gonna move. No more, never again. I won't say I'm never moving again. I think this is the starter homestead. I really think I need like 5 to 10 acres to do what I wanna do. This is a beautiful place to get started, but this is my home and I'm not moving until somebody is ready to buy it and I'm ready to move.
It's on your time.
Yes, this is on my timeline. I get to choose where I'm gonna be.
Yeah.
And so I started out thinking, like, you know, if I can grow my own food, I can raise my own meat, I can have my own dairy, I can do all of this myself. And I've realized the more I dig into this that, yeah, you can. Do I really want to? Community sufficiency is more what I'm looking at. This is a beautiful town that I live in. We have down the road, there's like a little covered bridge, and then they have a stand next to it. And everybody in town brings their extra zucchini, their extra potatoes or tomatoes or whatever, or eggs. And they leave it in the cooler or in the bins. And whoever in town needs it can just go get it. Oh. And that's an amazing thing. So I want to support more of that. Yeah. I'd like to see that idea spread to, you know, there's, you know, other communities just a lot more than it does, because that's the only way we get through things. Because, you know, I basically want to reduce my independence on outside sources. You know, if God forbid we have another not going to say the word, but you all know what I'm talking about. If we have another thing like that.
You can say COVID.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But if we have another pandemic, if we have some big thing, I'm going to have cans of food, you know, or mason jars full of food, and I'm going to be able to not only feed myself, but I'm going to be able to feed my neighbors.
So you mentioned like wanting to build community and just not necessarily self-sufficiency, but community sufficiency. So with your YouTube channel, what are you using that for? Is that in that same mindset, or is there something different with that? Initially, a lot of my videos started out as gardening how-tos, how to build raised beds on the cheap if you don't know how to use power tools. You know, like, hey, you can get boards at Home Depot. Home Depot will cut them for you. A lot of people don't know that when you're not somebody who builds things. So I'm like, and then you get these garden corners and you put them together and see, cheap, no tools, 5 seconds, and just fill it with soil and you're done. I'd like to get back to more of that, and I'm gonna be doing a lot of that as I build out my garden. So it's all about how to do things economically, but so that they last. Kind of teaching people that yes, you can grow a garden. It doesn't matter. Everybody has the same color thumbs. You all have flesh tones for thumbs. They're not black, they're not green. Everybody can grow a garden. The best gardeners have killed the most plants, all of that. And I want to instill that in people, because they're like, oh, you grow so much good food. I can't do that. Yes, you can. You just got to be willing to murder a lot of tomatoes. You know, I mean, that's generally how it goes. Yeah. So are you like on a break right now with your Facebook? I've been a little bit. It was so, well, my Facebook is still going strong. Like I'm always posting on there. I don't know what it is this spring. I haven't really been able to pick up the camera. I've actually shot 4 or 5 videos and just tossed them. And I don't know why. I think maybe I hit a little burnout, but I'm really actually excited to get back into it. I haven't shared the story of Stella yet, so I'm filming a video this week talking about that high and that low of, oh, there's these beautiful babies, but the reality of farming is that sometimes you're going to lose animals. Yeah. But I have a bunch of videos planned, so as I start building out some more of the garden for the fall, because I really got to use that compost, can't let it go to waste. So I'm going to try to build beds with just materials found around, like I've got all these logs. Oh. I don't think I'm going to be able to bring up a bunch of them, but you know, some of the smaller like pieces of driftwood I make. You are still like putting the pieces together here. Yes. I think everyone can understand that we go through transitions in life, right? I mean, myself included in what we're doing, right? Like we farmed. Yeah. Oh, you're totally in flux. We sold it all, and now, you know, we're traveling, and no day ever looks the same for us, you know? So I think a lot of people can appreciate, you know, the ups and downs, like you said, that come with it. I mean, that's that's life. We're not ever going to live in a state of constant good or constant bad. You know, it's just going to come.
It's going to be a mix at every moment.
I love your ability to keep going. I don't think that there are a lot of people out there that can be in situations like you have been, and then they end up in a place where, like you said, nobody can take it away from me.
Yes.
You know, this is mine, and no one can just show up and take it from me. I think that that is so important. I think a lot of people register with that, right? That they want that security too.
I was talking about this plan, not this property, it was years before I found this property. I think it was 2019, and I was talking to my real estate coach and telling her this is what I want to do, and I can grow my own food, and if I lose my job, I can still eat, and I still have a place to live. And she goes, that sounds terrible. But what I didn't realize, I thought she didn't get it, but she totally got it, and I didn't understand what she was saying. And what her mindset on that is just constant survival mode, and that's terrible. You don't want to live there. You don't want to live on just that edge. You want to, if that's the life you want to live, that's great.
Right.
If that's the life you're going to enjoy, but like get it to the point where you're moving from survival mode into thrival. And that's really what I want to do here, because I'm going to eat really good food and I'm going to have a peaceful plate. Like, this is peace.
It is. And the silkworms behind you are distracting me.
Oh, hello, silkworms. I were unaware they were here.
I was making sure you weren't going to walk right into them, but I don't even know if we can see them on the camera.
Maybe a little too well.
A little too close. If you were to give like one piece of advice to someone who maybe had kind of the same turbulent changes that you have had, and they too want to find a place where they're more secure, what's the one thing that you would advise them to do, or your one piece of advice for them to be able to come and do this?
I would say, do not let yourself get stuck in that trap of the little man can't get ahead. The American dream is dead. The American dream has changed. The American dream has changed. We'll put it that way. I don't get political. I purposely do not get political, but things have changed. We have to adjust. But don't let yourself get trapped in the I can never get there. If you can just do one small thing, working toward your goal every day or every week or every month, just break it down into little things. You know, I've got to fix my resume so I can get a better job. There are always little things that you can do to work your way towards something in this world. Do not let yourself get stuck. You are not a victim. Even if bad things have happened to you, that doesn't make you a victim. That makes you somebody who is strong enough to get through it and still achieve your goals.
Absolutely. Yeah. I love that. And I think that there are so many people out there that resonate with that. So thank you, Dani, for having me out here and showing me around. Your goats are adorable. I love your story, and I am so excited to see your transition. I mean, I'm going to be watching you closely and sharing all of your things. I can't wait to see how this turns out, because I see your vision with you. I mean, it looks rough right now, right?
Yep,
like it's mostly just the sand and the rocks and the brush cover. I see your vision, and I'm sure that you can bring it to fruition. So thank you for having me out and showing me around.
Thank you for coming.
If anybody's interested in any of your channels or anything, if they haven't heard of you yet, we'll put all of that in the description so that they can find you there. But thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. There are so many awesome things that Dani said here today, but I think most of it is her resilience. And I think that as we're moving through this journey of the small farms, the small homesteaders, that's really what we are all trying to emulate, right? Is that resilience, that backbone, that ability to rebound. Dani is doing it, and I know right now she is still in transition. I would beg to differ that we are all always in transition. It just might look different from one to the other, you know? Either way, being here was so cool and so fun. I've seen her on Facebook for a while now, so to be able to meet her and just feel her vibe has been so, so great. Thank you for coming along with me today. This is our first tour in Vermont. We have plenty more to go, and we are going to take you along with us. If you're interested in a little bit more about what we're doing, always check out our Instagram, breaking_new_roots. And you can also check out our live streams every other Sunday on YouTube and on Facebook. Until the next time, we'll be around.